Jai Gurudev. Yoga Vasistha page 206 is a very important page. So we will begin reading now. We begin reading with the shloka and we'll go just paragraph by paragraph today. Yeah. Pay attention, this is a very important page. Yeah.
Pranaspanda chitaspandas tatspandadhavir samvidaha chakravarta vidhayanyo jalaspandat divovarmaya. Vasistha continued, O Rama, just as when a firebrand is swung around, an illusory circle of fire is formed, where is an illusory appearance of the world due to the vibration that arises in consciousness. Vibration and consciousness are inseparably one, like the whiteness of snow, the oil in the sesame seed, the fragrance of the flower, and the heat of fire. Their description as distinct categories is an error. Mind and movement of thought are inseparable, and the cessation of one is the cessation of both.
So this is very beautiful. Let's look at this. Vasistha speaks about a firebrand. This is similar to a sparkler that you probably played with in Diwali. The tip of the sparkler is lighted, and when you take that round in circles, it gives you an illusion of a circle of fire. Just like the firebrand in this picture gives you an illusion of the circle of fire. The circle of fire or the circle of light is not there really. It's just an illusion. And this illusion is happening only because of that particular movement or because of that vibration. Similarly, the illusory appearance of this world is due to a vibration. That vibration arises in the Brahman consciousness. In the beginning of the universe, there was just the pool of consciousness which was completely silent and still. In this silent pool of consciousness came the first vibration. This vibration is the cause of the illusory appearance of the world. You know the story after that. The vibration produces the first I, the first thought, that is I, and the mind is born. And from the mind, the physical was born, and then numerous physical bodies came up, and the entire universe was thus created. So, where did it all begin? With that first vibration. Today, quantum physics says that the smallest subatomic unit is a vibrating string. This is called the string theory. String theory predicts that all matter is ultimately made up of infinitesimally small vibrating strings. This vibrating string is extremely small compared to the size of an atom. And what is this universe really? Just a collection of atoms, whether it is earth, water, fire or air, everything is just atoms. This entire universe is nothing but infinitesimally small vibrating strings. This entire universe is just a vibration. So far we have learned that everything is the Brahman consciousness. Everything. Every person, every situation, every thing, every animal, every plant, insect, even air, fire, water, ether, everything is just the Brahman consciousness. Now Vasistha is saying all this is just a vibration. All the Prakriti that you see is just vibrations in that Brahman consciousness. So essentially, the Brahman consciousness and vibrations are inseparable. Just like that, the mind and the movement of thought are inseparable. Mind equals to thought, in short. And cessation of one is cessation of both. If you can master the mind, thoughts stop. If you can stop the thoughts, you are the master of your mind. And what is the methodology that Vasistha tells us to become a master of the mind? Let's read ahead.
O Rama, there are two ways in which this cessation can be achieved. One is the way of yoga, which involves the restraint of the movement of thought, and the other is the way of knowledge, which involves the right knowledge of truth.
So now, Vasistha has given two methodologies in which cessation can be achieved. What is the first? The way of yoga. Yoga means what? Restraint of movement of thought. And the second is way of knowledge. Way of knowledge means the right knowledge of truth. So let's understand in depth what is he saying. He's saying first is Karma Yoga and the other is Jnana Yoga. These are the two methodologies that Vasistha is giving Rama. Now Karma Yoga is not just asanas. Yes, it is really understanding the deep and true meaning of yoga and pranayama really. Restraint of movement of thought is done through restraining the breath in Karma Yoga. And the second methodology, the way of knowledge, is understanding what is truth. Yeah? Understanding really what is Maya first. And then discarding everything that looks like Maya with the process of elimination, reaching that ultimate truth. So here one very important thing to understand is he is going to list different techniques of restraining the breath which will help to restrain thought. That is the way of yoga. He says, one is the way of yoga which involves the restraint of the movement of thought. So we are restraining the movement of thought, and that is done through yoga, which is actually the breath or prana. We will talk about that in detail in the following paragraphs. And the other is the way of knowledge, which you already know, Jnana Yoga, which involves the right knowledge of truth. Understanding truth is equally important. You can be practicing yoga and pranayam for years together,
Yes, you can come to the stillness of mind, but if you do not have a proper understanding about the stillness of mind and its counterpart, the Maya, then your stillness will be lost just like that. Yeah? So knowledge is very important here. Yeah? That is what he is emphasizing. Either of the ways you adopt to get there, but finally when you get there, you really have both. Yeah? So let's look at the next paragraph, in which he talks about this in detail.
In this body, that energy, literally air, which circulates in the energy channels, nadi, literally means channel of motion, not necessarily a nerve. For convenience, it may be called so, is known as prana. In accordance with its diverse functions in the body, it is also known by the names apana, etc. This prana is indistinguishably united with the mind. In fact, the consciousness that tends towards thinking on account of the movement of prana is known as the mind. Movement of thought in the mind arises from the movement of prana, and the movement of prana arises because of movement of thought in consciousness. Thus, they form a cycle of mutual dependence, like waves and the movement of currents in water.
So let's understand first what are nadis, and how nadis run through the subtle body. First thing I want to bring to your attention is long time ago when you did Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, in that we had learned that we have a separate pranic body and a separate thought body. Do you remember this? Pranic body is the body of prana, and that is the body in which you have these nadis running. Yes? And the thought body is actually the mind, where you have the thoughts running. Now, we will first understand how this pranic body really looks.
So let's look at this diagram very carefully. You have the physical body. You identify that very clearly. Around the physical body, you have an upside down heart shape with a fountain on the top. That is the pranic body. You remember we did different kinds of bodies in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras? Yeah. So, this upside down heart shaped with a fountain on the top is the pranic body. The third is the mind body, which is that it is those electrical impulses in the background which are just going all over the place. That is the thought body or mind body. Now the pranic body and the thought body together form the subtle body. Is that clear? Yeah. Now let's look very carefully at this pranic body. You see various nerve-like things just running all over like a net or a web. Yes. These are called nadis. And in these nadis, energy flows. Basically, they are just channels of flow of energy. Now, if you look very carefully, where these nadis converge, they are called chakras and they coincide with your spinal column or your backbone in the physical body. If you look at the crown of the head, the topmost chakra, which is the Sahasrara chakra. Yeah, it coincides with the crown of the head. There is another convergence you see in between the eyebrows, that is the Agnya chakra. There is a third convergence as you come down to the throat. That is the Vishuddha chakra. As you come down to the heart region, you see one more convergence of all the nadis, and that is called the heart chakra or Anahata chakra. You come down to the abdomen. It is also the solar plexus. That is the Manipur chakra. You come down towards the genitals. That is the Swadhisthana chakra. And then you come down to the base of the spine. That is the Mooladhara chakra, the root chakra. Yeah? These 7 chakras are nothing but where the nadis are converging in the body, coinciding with your spinal column of the physical body. So now you will see there are other chakras also which are slightly smaller on the limbs of the body. Yeah? If you have ever done acupressure, you must have noticed that there are particular points they have where they actually apply that pressure. Yeah? Acupuncture also uses the same. Yeah? So this is a brief outline of how the pranic body looks. Now you can also see that there is one special nadi that goes from the heart chakra, which is the Anahata chakra, to the crown of the head, Sahasrara chakra. Can you see it? Yeah, it's kind of pulled out of the diagram to help you identify. It's not really lying outside. It's actually straight from the heart. It goes to the crown of the head. Yes, this coincides with the Sushumna Nadi. You remember? There are 3 nadis which are very important. The Ida, the Pingala and the Sushumna. Ida, Pingala coincide with the right and left nostril on the physical body. Sushumna Nadi is which runs in the center. Yes. Energy is usually flowing in Ida or Pingala. When this energy gets channelized through the Sushumna Nadi, yes, it is said that that is when you reach Nirvana or liberation or enlightenment. Yeah. So, did you get the basic structure of the pranic body? Yeah. Now you see the electrical impulses running behind here and there. Your mind is like that. Thoughts are running here and there, here and there. They are really not very consolidated. They are all over the place, correct? Yeah. So that depicts the mind body. The mind body and the pranic body are almost glued together. Yeah. They are one inside the other. They work together. One affects the other and the other affects the first. So this is just a basic understanding of the pranic body and the mind body. Is that clear so far? Yes. Now this prana is united with the mind. Yeah, now that we understand pranic body and mind body, we understand that it is united. Yeah? The prana and the mind work together. Yes? If the mind is affected, your prana is affected. And how would you know that? Yeah? If, for example, you are very angry someday, you will notice the pattern or the rhythm of your breath has also changed. Yes? So, mind affecting prana here. On the other hand, when the prana is changed, when you actually do a very good pranayam, you will notice that the mind calms down. The thoughts that are all over the place actually learn to relax. Yes, they come to a point of relaxation. So thus prana and mind are united. They affect each other. Going back to the book. Let's read that paragraph, come back to the book. In this body, that energy which circulates in the energy channels called nadis or channels of motion is known as prana. In accordance with its diverse functions in the body, it is also known by the names apana. You have learned all these 5 types of prana earlier in Yoga Vasistha, remember? So he's just referring to that. This prana is indistinguishably united with the mind. I just gave you an example how anger affects the prana, how it manifests in the breath becoming very fast. Yeah? And also if you with pranayam calm down the prana, the mind also calms down. So they are indistinguishably united. In fact, the consciousness that tends towards thinking on account of the movement of prana is known as the mind. Yeah? What does this mean? Now, because the prana and mind are so indistinguishably united, one affects the other. We just understood that. Yeah. So he's saying actually that consciousness that tends towards thinking also, it is thinking because of the movement in prana. Yeah. And that thinking faculty, those impulses in the background of this diagram that you see, that is the thinking faculty. That thinking or that thought is happening because of the movement in prana, he's saying. Yes. So what do we get from here? That the mind exists because of the movement of prana. Is that clear? Yeah. Now let's go back to the book and read the shloka which is in English, which is the bold letters in the middle of the page. Movement of thought in the mind arises from the movement of prana, and movement of prana arises because of the movement of thought in consciousness. They thus form a circle of mutual dependence, like waves and movement of currents in water. Yeah. This is the main shloka here. What he's saying is, we understood so far that the mind and the prana are united. They are indistinguishably united, or they are the same. Yes. Now, if there is a vibration in the prana or movement in the prana, yeah, there is generation of thought or movement in thought in the mind. Yes. And movement of prana, why did it happen? Because of movement of thought in consciousness. So it is a mutual dependence cycle. One affects the other. Yeah? If there is movement in thought, it affects the movement in prana. If there is movement in prana, it affects the movement in thought. It is a cycle of mutual dependence, like waves, yeah? And movements of current in water. So if you look at this diagram, you can see how the wave affects the pranic body. They form a cycle of mutual dependence, like waves and movement of currents in water. Is this clear so far? Yes?
So can we move ahead? We go to the next paragraph now.
The wise ones declare that the mind is caused by the movement of prana, and hence restraint of the prana, the mind becomes quiet. When the mind abandons the movement of thought, the appearance of world illusion ceases. The movement of prana is arrested at the moment when all hopes and desires come to an end in one's heart through the earnest practice of the precepts of the scriptures and sages, and by the cultivation of dispassion in previous lifespans, or through endeavoring to practice contemplation or meditation and reaching a state of devotion to a single truth in a single-minded way.
So what do the wise ones declare? The wise ones declare that by the restraint of prana, yes, when do you restrain prana? Through the different pranayams that we do. For example, today you did practicing the gap pranayam just before the Yoga Vasistha session. That is also a form of restraining the prana, observing the in-between, the in-breath and the out-breath. You're restraining the prana, the natural flow, and just observing. Yes? So wise ones declare what? By the restraint of movement of prana, what can be achieved? The mind becomes quiescent. Yeah? Means these thoughts that go on and on and on will quieten down. Why? Because they understand that the mind is caused by the movement of prana. Yeah? Just that we did a minute ago. Yes, the mind is caused by the movement of prana. That is why if you restrain the prana, the mind will become quiescent. And when the mind abandons the movement of thought, the appearance of this world illusion ceases. Yeah? This whole world illusion is what? You tell me, what is it really? It is nothing but a desire in your consciousness. A desire came up, I want to be this. Yes, that was the beginning, and after that more desires, more desires. So it has only been a cycle of ragas and dveshas and their impressions, and what those impressions have led to, again ragas and dveshas, and again their impressions, and then the impact of those impressions, and again ragas and dveshas, and the vicious cycle has been continuing. The appearance of this world illusion is because of desire. And the appearance of this world illusion ceases when the mind abandons the movement of thought. How is the prana restrained? Here he gives you a few methods or methodologies how to do it. The movement of prana is arrested at the moment when all hopes and desires come to an end in one's heart. We just discussed everything was because of that first raga, and then raga, dvesha and their impressions and their impacts, and again raga, dvesha, and the cycle continued. The moment you break this cycle, cut off all the hopes and desires in the heart, the movement of prana gets arrested. And how can this be achieved? He says, 1, through the earnest practice of the precepts of the scriptures and sages. Whatever Guruji has been teaching us, whatever Patanjali, Ashtavakra has been teaching us, seriously, sincerely, genuinely practicing all that, will help drop away all the ragas and dveshas in the heart. All those hopes and desires that are in the heart and that have led to all this drama. That is the first method prescribed by him. The second, he says, by the cultivation of dispassion in previous lifespans. So now I can't do anything about what I did in my previous lifespan. At least I can cultivate dispassion now. And I'm sure you all have impressions of dispassion from your previous lifespans. That is why you are so committed to this weekly knowledge session where you drop away everything, family, work, friends, for 1 hour every week. You are dispassionate towards everything and you focus on your own spiritual progress. So the cultivation of dispassion is going good. So pat yourself, yeah, but continue this. The third method, he says, is through endeavoring to practice contemplation or meditation and reaching a stage of devotion. Devotion to what? To God or Guru or some idol? No. He's saying to a single truth in a single-minded way. This is very important. Single truth is what? There is really just one truth. And what is that? Everything is temporary. Everything is Maya. The only permanent aspect is the Brahman consciousness. And I am that. Soham asmi. I am that. That is the single truth. Yeah? Through the practice of meditation or contemplation, just reaching that single truth. Soham asmi. In a single-minded way. That is the third method which is prescribed here. Now, homework for you. Homework number 1. Out of these 3 methods, are you practicing any? In fact, you should be practicing all. Yeah. But are you sincerely 100% practicing any of them? Yeah. And if not, doesn't matter. It's not too late. Pick up one of them. Which one appeals to you? Just pick that one up and start moving. Yes. Let's move ahead to the last and the most complicated paragraph of this page.
The last paragraph.
The movement of prana is also arrested by the effortless practice of breathing, without strain, in seclusion, or the repetition of the sacred Om with the experience of its meaning. When the consciousness reaches the deep sleep state, the practice of exhalation, when the prana roams in space without touching the limbs of the body, of inhalation leading to the peaceful movement of prana, and of retention bringing it to a standstill for a long time, all lead to the arrest of movement of prana. Likewise, the closure of the posterior nares by the tip of the tongue as the prana moves towards the crown of the head, the practice of meditation where there is no movement of thought, the holding of consciousness steadily at a point 12 inches from the tip of the nose, the entering of the prana into the forehead through the palate and the upper aperture, the fixing of the prana at the eyebrow center, the sudden cessation of the movement of thought, or cessation of all mental conditioning to meditation on the space in the heart center over a long period of time, all these lead to the arrest of the movement of prana.
Yeah. Lots of information in one paragraph right there. Yeah. This is at least 12 pranayam techniques. Yeah. So, homework number 2 for you today. Figure out how many techniques from these do you know really. First of all, figure out, can you figure out that there are 12 techniques here in this one paragraph? And secondly, how many of these do you already practice? You do practice, yeah? So that is homework for the week. This last paragraph is a long session in itself, so I will wait until next week to do this. Keep doing your homework and I will see you next week. Jai Gurudev.